Well, hello there. Hey, hi, social media family. Being of whatsoever races, but then not necessarily being of whatever walks of life, factions, society, lifestyle preferences. I mean, there is a reason and a purpose for that of my purpose. Having put it that way, if I were to be speaking correct, proper, standard English grammar of the American dialect, being of some or such qualities and quantities or not. Because you have got to recognize and realize, you know, not everybody is, I'm saying not anybody and everybody are to be considered, however said, as being a part of my social media family. Like say, for example, the LGBT community. I may not agree with what they say or what they do or how they express themselves, but just as long as they're not violating anybody's civil and or human rights, and neither or nor are violating that of my own, as well as they don't want anybody to violate theirs, then it's all good in the hood. For where we American citizens and are foreigners for the Western Hemisphere upon the North American continent considered as home for the planet Earth and this world for a country or nation representing a part of the global community, being as it is our own supposed or so-called democratic republic or democracy. And hopefully it is not moonlighting as one and being all actuality a dictatorship disguising itself for what we commonly call and or know as the USA, as in United States of America. Yeah, I may not agree with how you express yourselves if you be otherwise altogether different from me, but I will defend your right to say or do, provided that it's not violating anybody's civil and human rights. But then, nevertheless, I am not a supporter of the LGBT community. Let me make that perfectly clear. Not that they're violating or have a chance to violate somebody else's civil and human rights as much as, oh, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that they don't have the possible potential to attempt to do so, but I'm saying not like a much more familiar clique of an abnormal nature. Like say, for example, oh, excuse me. I guess I still have quite a bit of a slight cold. And to think that it could possibly be exacerbated with all of what is being experienced by the global community for whosoever could possibly have the chance of contracting it if you don't be careful, as well as if you don't take care of yourselves, then you could wind up elsewhere. As in, I'm making reference to that the COVID-19 coronavirus. But getting back to some of such other, you know, as I think of it with that in my mind's intentions to try to backtrack here, reason on purpose is being on us. So I could go on with the following to continue from where and when I had last left off to finish up as in complete a former line of thought and in that same sense of the word, and do disregard on whatever physical hand gestures you had seen. I mean, as I had explained, it's a natural body function. Common cold. But that if you contract something such that, I hope not something else worse yet. But anyway, getting back, and if you were to, hopefully you would get it treated for whatever it may be that could cause anyone some such problems, of a debilitating nature. But getting back to some of such of it, and I was saying, I myself am not a supporter of the LGBT community for obvious reasons or purposes, from that of my person having said so, being because I am personally myself, being that of my personal person of my saying so, am a believer in God as in Christian, a.k.a. Protestant, But then, nevertheless, I will support anybody's means of expressing themselves in accordance to that of a democratic republic or democracy, provided that they are not violating anybody else's civil and human rights, as they would not want anybody to violate their own. But then, at least for the present given of time, until they were to become even more belligerent or arrogant and resort to that of methods or techniques or tactics, being of which would be much more familiar with unprovoked, unreasonable physical violence to be orchestrated, initiated against other people or other persons. That would be, customary of some of such cliques of much more, not much more abnormal, rather much more, infamous and notorious one, like say, for example, that being, like a street gang, you know, or a 1% MC, or a mafia or mob family. Then from there, they are subjected to reaping the serious penalties or consequences for their actions, likewise, as well, all the same as anybody else would have to answer to the law and or law enforcement personnel, officials, or officers, in conjunction to having to appear within a courtroom setting of legality to answer for that of any civil or human rights violation offenses, especially if it could take upon itself that of a criminal nature, within a courtroom of the law, for a setting as that being before a judge, jury, and prosecutor. Okay, and anyway, though, so I say to you all as I try to go about with this here, that is to finish up the intro, as in the basic introduction, before I were to speak any further upon either this subject matter, a topic of discussion, or of a given argument to be debated with the pros and cons or different views and opinions thereof, or of an issue at hand, be it were to be a controversy or not, that could possibly plague society, or whether or not it could, and if it were to, whereas it would have to be resolved if it hasn't been already. Or be I were to speak upon some such other, or a couple few for that matter. But then don't kill the messenger. I'm just here to deliver, regardless of how I were to go about it, so far as means of expressing myself, for that is some such given on time in this particular format. As you see, it would be verbal, unless I were to go about it in addition to some of such physical gestures to complement that of any verbal sentiments. So I say to you all, being my social media family, not counting the internet trolls and the negative, and being of the old and young alike, of both two sexual genders, representing the global community within this post 911 era of our new millennium, of this apocalyptic day and age, and whereas the doomsday clock is now at a few minutes to midnight. No, I was just checking what time it is. The prime time hour, rather hour after the prime time hour is supposed to be 7 p.m. And I'm watching, viewing, or whatever I said, that of a television program, though I listen to the radio at times, in addition to watching TV or viewing the idiot box sometimes. And what program that is on at the moment, whereas I should be watching a religious broadcast right about now, trying to get ready for any church online for a sabbatical Sunday of the weekend, whereas that is when I would usually try to think of it with a mind's intention. Excuse me. It's that is when I would usually think of it with my intention to try to attend, you know, a church facility with religious service and sabbatical Sunday school class, regardless of how I have yet to find a church home. But now, you know, anything having to do with church is a nature or a format is online in due regard to this corona. I nicknamed corona beer virus, you know. But anyway, I was about to say what you're hearing in the background is a television program, rather, that is dealing with or regarding or making reference to that of its content so far as aliens from outer space is concerned. And it's called by its title Ancient Aliens. And I am quite a sci-fi buff fan, you know, as you hear it. But anyway, I'm getting back to some such other, so far the basic introduction, then I can continue to speak upon something I mentioned earlier, move right along. As the Brits would say, our kissing cousins across the great waters of the Atlantic, as in British or English. But yes. So I say to you all, my social media family, not counting the internet trolls in the negative, and as you all are likewise as well are the same, of the old and young alike, of both the two sexual genders, represent the global community within this post 911 era of a new millennium apocalyptic day and age, in which the doomsday clock is now at a couple few minutes to midnight compared on to how formerly previously or prior to then it was at a quarter to midnight for these rather biblically prophetic times. And as you are, in addition to being my social media fan or whatsoever racist, but then not necessarily being a whatever walks of life, factions of society, lifestyle preferences, as I was saying, I mean, people's places and things you gotta recognize and realize, I mean, you can't hang with any and every clique. That's just how it is, Different stroke for different folks. Okay. But then how are you all doing? Well, hopefully everyone is doing at least okay. If not, better yet to be said to be feeling all right. Or if not, best of all to be said to be feeling blessed and stressed, more blessed and stressed, or too blessed to possibly become or be stressed. You and yours, your family and friends, and likewise as well. I was saying, hopefully me and mine are feeling like the same. You know, insane I thought in a sense of word. You know. And regardless of how I could possibly express myself word wise, hopefully it would be less with usages of expletives of profanity. Likewise, let me say, much rather than instead of with that much more, in other words, cuss words to simply say. And therefore, hopefully I would, express myself with less of a chance to come off as a person playing the part of the devil's advocate, less two evils, being a prodigal son, being of a believing God that has gone astray from the will of God, that has yet to make amens compared to how the worst of two evils is of the likes of, those being of whom are likewise the worst or the worstest of unbelievers and unbelievers, being of deceivers who pretend to have become or pretend to be believers in God as in Christians, a.k.a. Protestants. And therefore, they themselves would as well be considered or are the same, being the worst or the worstest of closet devil worshippers, being of whom make up the majority of churchgoers or whatsoever religious denomination, from the pools to the pulpits. Or that's what I believe. And I'm sure others would agree with me compared to how still others would tend to differ. And in the land of blind, one-eyed man is king, and people in hell do want ice water, And I pity the fool who does not have the blood sacrifice of our Lord and Savior, Christ Messiah the Deliverer, upon and within one's soul as he had given his life upon the cross of Calvary to save the lost souls of humankind, for that some such a given moment in time. The Lion of Judah, is supposed to be greater than old Slipfoot, who is like a roaring lion. Speaking of someone other than the Prince of Peace, being his rival, the Prince of Darkness. Okay, now I got the preliminaries out the way. And let me just say, I think my day went fairly well. You know, I mean, hopefully I feel much better than what I felt like last. Okay, for reasons and our purposes for that of my person. Having said so, I think I had informed you all's persons among yourselves last I was on here, well, for the first time. I'm still fairly new to this particular means of communicating. But I think I'm getting the knack of it. Anyway, though, I had explained to you all on forums that of your persons how one of my loved ones had passed. Yes, she had recently died within a nursing home facility, being one of the maternal heads of a matriarch for my own immediate personal family household, being my mother's mom, my mom's mother, a.k.a. my grandma, you know, on my mom's side, you know. And it kind of shook me up quite a bit, And to think that the devil was busy being it because the creepy and crazy proverbial neighbor from hell of a rather faggoty male. This is not meant to be sarcastic or some derogatory comments toward any Caucasian members of the LGBT community. I'm just telling it like it is. I mean, anytime a male focuses his attentions upon another male so much of a fellow neighbor to attempt to harass, intimidate, and or persecute, or to terrorize and traumatize, to attempt to make another male neighbor's life a living damn hell, being of whom represents the same sex, then that other guy or fellow that is perpetrating those kind of 2 cent power plays has either have got to be faggoty or worse yet, an actual literal closet faggot. Well, I look at it from the point when I say worse yet, because I'm a believer in God. Now, I don't condone homosexuality. You know, it's an abomination in the eyesight of God. So you must understand where I'm coming from. Not that I'm irrationally, unreasonably attempting to diss homosexuals, homos, or faggots. Well, not like the Westboro Baptist Church would. It's rather sacrilegious or blasphemously bogus email or website address, www.godhatesfags.com. No, God doesn't or don't hate fags. If God, our Lord and Savior Christ, the Messiah, deliverer, hated any faggots, then he could not have given his life upon the cross of Calvary to save the lost souls of humankind, as he himself is the only one that could do that, to restore the breach between humankind and God, to permit any of us, once we were to, make that transition to travel to the other world, or to, go into the great beyond for the afterlife or the hereafter, you know. Whereas if we don't have the blood sacrifice of our Lord and Savior upon him within our souls, if it wasn't for him, then nobody could go to hell. Because if God were to hate anybody, then he could not have committed himself, to become that sacrificial lamb of God that would provide the only means by which any human being can or could possibly become a citizen of the kingdom of heaven. And that would really do serious damage to God's word, the B.I.B.L.E, the basic instruction before leaving earth regarding making reference to salvation and deliverance in Christ, our Lord and Savior. And that would also call the creation of anyone and anything in question as to whether or not, this is real or fake, live or Memorex. It would like have one having to rethink things as to whether or not we are of an existence or are we just some mirage, and so that would bring into question the argument between creationism and evolution or spontaneous combustion, You hear what I'm saying? Now, I do not hate faggots, but I was saying, this here, and as I think of it to try to finish up a former previous prior line of thought, and as I was making mention of a maternal head being of a matriarch for my own immediate personal family household having passed, to put it mildly, and it was causing me quite a bit of grief, and I had to deal with it. I'm still am, regardless of any homorous or faggoty proverbial neighbor from hell, public nuisance, a problem neighbor of another male of the same sex, acting just as creepy as well as crazy as he wanted to be himself, with all the ridiculously extreme and excessive noises of different sorts or types being of which he would make, the compliment passes out the good book as it is speaking upon how we are living in these last and evil days, the end of times, before the end of the world, the second coming of Christ, where there will be an age of lawlessness, and more than quite a few will witness a whole lot of crazy stuff happening. I mean, it is just so much insanity what's going on now, Okay. But then, regardless, though, I get to thinking about this one, pop culture. What should I call this? Spiritual or religious song number? Something goes like this here. I ain't gonna worry about the bum, cause God's got it. God's got it. I ain't gonna worry about it, cause God got it. God got it. I ain't gonna worry about things I can't control, cause God got it. Oh, excuse me. All disregard what you see back here. This is some of the stuff that I wrote. Well, this is just one set of letters compared to previous ones that I wrote, about this same freaking idiot of a proverbial neighbor from hell, dickhead prick character, being of whom would remind me of a gay pedophile Catholic priest of the likes, as the majority of Catholic priests with the gay cells are off into pedophilia, as in raping or molesting underage male minors, adolescent or teenage, and worse yet, preteen boys, likewise, of whatever walks of life, factions of society, lifestyle preferences. And this neighbor, he really goes at it, attempting to make my life a living damn hell with his ridiculous noises, to be compared on to a neighbor of the likes of this kind at the old building where I was at as a resident or tenant, paying monthly annual rent, utilities, home phone service, fee bills, etc. And whereas here I am at the new building where I'm located at, and whereas this other proverbial neighbor from hell is doing the same kind of nonsense like the previous or prior neighbor from hell that of my person have had to be bothered with and try to deal with what he himself would make me become subject to experiencing. You know. So these letters up here is describing in great detail more or less what he does, or somewhat, if not, I guess it's like a 6-page letter, and I just posted on one of the walls of my place of residence for the atmosphere therein for its premises properties. And then I kind of like, put tape over it, So I could do a photo shot of it and show it to whosoever to verify, confirm what I was saying if I haven't already given them duplicates or copies of this here so they could investigate matters. I mean, this guy or fella, he's off his rocker. Like, do 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 do. And he himself will get you to think about the male character played in a film, movie flick, or Hollywood or Hollyweird, California motion picture production. You know, for the one called by its title of Psycho, or for some such other ones, like the one called by its own title of Silence of the Lambs. I mean, yes, this guy or fellow or dude is really psychotic, psychopathic, and or sociopathic, and will get one in many to reflect upon the late serial killers, mass murderers, or whatever I said, and or serial rapists of the late JWG and JD. JWG, John Wayne Gacy, and JD, Jeffrey Dahmers, or Jack the Ripper, and or etc., or Richard Speck. Remember him? He wasn't originally gay or a homo or a faggot, you know, but he turned out to become a B after a while. That's only after he had gotten caught and went to jail, you know, where before then he had murdered or killed, several nurses with the exception but one. That was the one that got away, obviously, evidently, and it was also supposed to have been the one that he raped, whereas the other nurses, he didn't rape them, just killed them. And after he raped her, he went searching for the other nurses of her co-worker, co-employees, and where she took that time to hide somewhere. I think it was up on the bed, while Richard Speck went on a killing spree. No, not for the University of Illinois at Chicago, but for the University of Chicago, where the University of Illinois at Chicago is on the west side, the University of Chicago is on the south side, and whereas he himself had did. Oh, forgive my improper uses or incorrect use of the English language American dialect. What I mean to say, whereas Richard Speck had done all this or did some of such like in the 60s, it's really a crazy, horrific incident or episode within human history, within our own city limits as we have it, and for our own continent, country, or nation as we have it. Yeah. But then later he turned into a gay guy or homo or faggot that was turning tricks for other jailbirds of the same sex, of some of such represent the masculine gender, or males, whereas he was going down on other males and having them go up in him to prevent himself from getting murdered or killed by the other male jailbirds. Yeah. Compared on to how, Jeffrey Dahmer was not so lucky. Somebody beat the crap out of him with either a broom handle or a mop stick, beating him to death. And whereas John Wayne Gacy, on the other hand, he himself had passed away, as in died of natural causes, the lucky dog, whereas somebody should have beat the crap out of him likewise as well, all the same. Well, that just gave me thinking how one time or another, when I was a youth out in the suburbs, or for camping or whatever, visiting relatives, friends, but then that's beside the point. Then I have done camping down south, for summer camp, and I rode horses. I wonder if I still know how to ride one of them things, one of them animals. But one time or another, for season, I was in the suburbs, right, and I was trying to get back somewhere. I was out that way where I was chilling with some other peeps of folks, and before I were to get back to the place of residence in question. I noticed because I from time to time, little boy, you know how kids or children at times could cross tracks, you know. So I'm crossing tracks like right, and that's a dangerous thing to try to do, you know. Fortunately for me, no train was coming or anything like that, but there was someone on the tracks, you know, leaning across some or such, you know, and it appeared to be a white man, and he was like yelling out, saying, "Help me! Somebody help me! Oh, please help me! Somebody! For the love of God!" I'm like, what in the world? So I was going to go back there and see about him, but I got this gut feeling, you know, all of a sudden I'm hearing, don't go check on that man and see what he want. You know, he could be stranger danger, stranger danger. And sure enough, that's what I suspect that he was. As far as I know, he could have been John Wayne Gacy or Jeffrey Dahmer. Because with one minute, a moment, I'm walking in his direction, trying to, I'm quite a distance from him. I'm walking in the direction, thinking about seeing about what he want, but then some say, "What you doing?" Something, someone. It had to be God. What do you think you're doing? Go back the other way. Forget him. Go back the other way. The life you save may be your own. So I go back the other way. And then, I'm picking up the pace, after hearing this here in my head, in my mind. And someone told me to look back. I looked back, that white man was gone from the tracks. And that's when I picked up the pace. I got to walking fast, and then I got to running, and I was like crossing streets and so forth, As far as that kid, that could have been John Wayne Gacy or Jeffrey Dahmer's, ready and willing to do the freaky dicky with me. The freaky dippy, whatever. Ready to go balls deep in a boy, I'm like, giggity, giggity, giggity. Fool, young man. Fuck you. Give me this. You know what I'm saying? Will force me to give him foreplay. Even so, before and after you go for the duty wipe, hold that much more. With a dookie hole with the dookie stick. You know what I'm saying? And that was scary. That scared the damn hell out of me, Not the minute dwell on some and such, Did I curse much earlier? I'm sorry. No, other than what last cuss, but then certain cuss words or spirits of profanity are mentioned in God's word, the good book, the book of all book. Being of spirits of profanity, being of which would be more or less that is more condoned than the alternative cuss words, being of which are not mentioned in God's word. You know what alternative words I'm talking about. Like SH-T or F-CK, blah 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 blah. And was I'm trying to get right with God as a believer in God, as in Christian, a.k.a. Protestant. So I have to be careful, be extra careful to watch my language. You hear what I'm saying? Because I don't want to influence somebody and be, possibly the vehicle that could cause anybody to go to damn hell. Guess I'm thinking about the book of Ezekiel, 33rd chapter, passages 1 through 20. Speaking of the watchman, that's supposed to warn people about the dangers, the serious consequences of going out of this world without the blood sacrifice of our Lord and Savior Christ, Messiah, deliver upon and within one's immortal human soul. But then I'm going to wrap this up, and I'll get back with you all later. Notice my mouth type colors. Doesn't mean I'm gay. The strangest I ever felt like in contemplating, our eternal lifestyle preference was as I myself personally, at some given moment in time back in the day or sometime back, had become subjected to experiencing bisexual tendencies. Although, regardless of how I have never transformed any bisexual mental thoughts into bisexual physical actions, as God is my witness, as the devil is my witness for that matter, okay. And this is regardless of what time frame period that was in the past that I had become subject to experiencing some such tendencies of that nature. Be it were to have been a millennial ago, so I say for the matter of figure speech when it comes to the time frame periods that, or a century ago, then you can see I'm not 100 years old, or a decade ago, or a year ago, a month ago, a week ago, a day ago, or a night ago, or an hour, or a minute ago. That's irrelevant. That's beside the point, but I think you get the general idea of what I'm trying to say. But anyway, though, I think I'm just going to wrap things up, and I'll get back with you all later, some other time, for that assignment such a given moment in time. And I hope you enjoyed the broadcast, So I'm going to draw things to a conclusion, and maybe if I get on here again, soon enough again, or that all depends, I'll have something more to talk about or discuss, depending on how I feel, or may I speak upon a few more subject matters to be considered by one of many, regardless of whether or not I would initiate a Q&A session, questions and answers. But then that's something for me to consider, being a witch is part of the program of plan, if not here and now. Okay. But anyway though, I'd just like to say, on this last note of interest, and that is, if you haven't gotten Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, I would hope that you would think to do so now while the blood is still running warm in your veins, by recognizing or realizing what He Himself had done or did upon the cross of Calvary on the hill of Golgotha, suffering at the hands of some such Roman soldiers upon the orders of their religious superiors, being a Pharisee and Sadducee, but then nevertheless, whereas He Himself had went to the cross of Calvary to become that perfect sacrifice, the only sacrifice for you as well as for me, so that if any of us, being of whatsoever race and whatever walks of life, fashion of society or lifestyle preferences, being of the old young like both two sexual genders, representing the global community within this post 911 era of a new millennium, apocalyptic day and age, where the doomsday clock is now at a couple few minutes to midnight, compared on to our formerly preached prior to then. It was at a quarter of midnight for these rather biblically prophetic times, where to profess some such faith in Him. From there, we will become or be blessed in one regard or another. More ways one. First and foremost, where we will be blessed with His salvation, which is the only means by which we can escape the lake of fire, damn hell. And then second of all, where we will be blessed with His deliverance. But first, you have got to get His salvation, being the much more important or most important lesson. Rather, let me say, Prince of Peace, continue to regulate my mind compared to how the Prince of Darkness attempt to confuse my speech. Being of which would be the most important blessing. Otherwise, you have no blessings coming your way. You are not entitled to any blessing. But once you were to get His salvation, from there, you don't have to worry about what your final destination or outcome will be. Then, because unlike the unbelievers and non-believers who would be damned for all eternity in the lake of fire, damn hell, to be tortured and terrorized by the devil and demons for all eternity, you will be in the company of other believers in God as citizens of the kingdom of heaven, across the great divide that separates heaven from hell, and be among other like-minded believers in God as in saints of fellowship, Christians, a.k.a. Protestants, in the company of God and His angels. And even so, you will be blessed down here upon the planet Earth, But you have got to get His salvation before it's too late. For tomorrow's not promised to anyone. You all take care and be blessed. Be blessed, not stressed. Peace, love, joy, and happiness. Bye-bye.